Now, in the Survivor series, if you want to deploy beyond enemy lines, then there's a number of principles in how to survive. And one of them is to manage or control your fear. Now, this is a huge topic, and there's so many things you can say about it, but I just want to try and focus on the one core aspect that was so critical in my personal life, and that is that as a child, growing up, I felt unworthy. And that uncertainty got to me. And I was just too scared and too afraid to commit and put up my hand and play and try something. And it's actually very sad if you think of it, that for so many years of my life, I struggled with some of that. And I guess the alternative to that would have been to demonstrate more courage. I didn't realize it in the beginning as a child. I mean, as a child, you're very, very vulnerable. You don't see. But to have and demonstrate more courage, to do things, to try something, was actually the way out. But that is what I was scared of. I couldn't commit myself to do what I was supposed to do. I kept on running. I kept on running away. It was Aristotle that said that to have courage is the most important virtue there is. It's the beginning or the starting point of all other virtues. All the other good stuff in life comes from courage. And I guess in the science of psychology, we've neglected this a little bit. The importance of just having courage. And I guess it's because we feel vulnerable having this conversation even. You almost feel a little bit ashamed. But that's the point. There's a very close interplay happening between your vulnerability as a human being and then your ability to break out of it by doing things and break that cycle of I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I don't feel that this is possible for me. And I had to break out of that cycle. So I guess one can now speak about the importance of acknowledging all your fears and what is it. I'm going to skip that part. What I think was more critical for me was to expose myself through my fear. In other words, I had to attack that space. I had to do things and create different experiences to eventually conquer my fear and have a sense of worthiness. I'm okay, confidence, self-confidence. If you do it once, maybe you can do it again. And that became the story of my life. And eventually I had these breakthroughs, and eventually I became good at doing some things better or good enough that you can make a living out of it, or you can be successful in doing. What I think I never struggled with was having a positive approach, a positive attitude towards life and things, and I think that actually helped me to get going, and having the courage to do things that I was actually very much scared of or afraid of. And one should acknowledge that there's potentially a very thin line between the stressors in life, the things you stress about, and then having the courage to attack those stressors and turn it around. And if you can do more of that, then you do a good thing. I think where I learned this better than any other place was in the survival courses that I did. In other words, courses where you were taught by others how to survive in the African wilderness or at sea or in the desert if you want to. And I had these amazing instructors. They didn't taught us this, but over time you learn it through the experience. And that is, if you allow your fears to take most of your energy in a negative way, day and night, when you're exposed to the elements, then you're in trouble. And that's exactly what happened to me. Where I was in my hide, or not hide, I was meant to build a hide, protect myself, get the fire going, find some food to eat, get some clean drinking water. When all of that was happening, I allowed my fears of the things that was on the outer circle, of things that I can do nothing about, to control my life. And it absorbed all my energy, all my emotional energy, my spiritual energy. In the end, I couldn't think. I couldn't make sense of, what is it that I'm missing here? And it was only when I turned that around and take most of my energy to the inner circle of the things that I can do. But there again, the courage then to get up, find those sticks that you need to make a fire from, and then try to make that fire. And if you fail, then try again. And if the sticks are not the right ones or the better ones, then go find the right and the better sticks. So eventually you get that fire going. In the African wilderness, what it means is you walk to the raisin bush and you find that long drill stick that you need to drill the fire from. And then you find the base, which is that of maybe the marula if you want to. And then you start playing with it. Now, the courage to go out and find it, the courage to collect, the courage to try, the courage to fail, the courage to try again. It changed my life. In the beginning, I did not see it coming. I didn't see how I allowed 80% of my energy to be absorbed by things that I don't have any control over. And it was only when I got to the doing space that eventually we got the hide strong enough to keep the lions out. We got the fire to make us feel safe and protected. A very basic principle, isn't it? And I learned it the hard way. And I think the sad part is that I actually start learning it only in the latter phases of my life. And a lot of my childhood, I guess, could have been different if I just understand this a little bit better. The courage to get going is most probably one of the most important things for us in life. I want to end with a story. There was a lady friend, a husband, that once joined us in a Timbavati experience, a big 5 environment, so it's lions and elephants and everything, buffalo. And we were doing some tracking with them. We actually had an event around self-leadership and self-management and, what's the purpose of life. That was, but we used the African wilderness for that, or the backdrop of that. And so we did some tracking things. But in our initial conversations, introducing ourselves to one another, the people in the group didn't know one another. She was first to go, and she explained her fears, the fears that she has for things in life. And it was a long list. It's everything. As a matter of fact, it was hard for her to drive with her husband in the vehicle to the Timbavati, where we were, and being afraid that so many things can actually go wrong just when you travel, which is true, but for her it was therefore not possible to live a normal life. And here we were working towards tracking experiences where tomorrow morning we will walk a rhino trail and see if we can find it and look at it, and maybe tomorrow afternoon we will do something on lions. And she was afraid. She was afraid of spiders and snakes and everything. Well, many people are, but anyway. What I did was to take her through a journey where I challenged her to become a little bit more courageous and try things, but then create an environment that was safe and an environment that she felt that she could trust at least me and the guides. And using the best guides in the world and explaining that to her got her confidence levels up. Now, I'm going to cut a long story short of what happened during the 3 days, but On the last afternoon, there was a fresh lion spoor, 3 males. We followed that trail, and then, unfortunately, it kind of ended up in a very thick bush where the lions caught a buffalo, and they were actually eating on the buffalo. And unfortunately, there was also a vehicle, a game drive vehicle, open game drive vehicle, standing there not far from us, looking at this sighting. They didn't see us, and we hide from them. But now we were sneaking in onto the lion kill, and because, I mean, we walked quite a distance for that, and I wanted the group to at least have that experience of seeing the lions, even if a distance. I knew it was relatively safe, although it was a thick bush, and I was confident that we could do this. But what amazed me was, whilst we were walking closer, the next moment, the lady, she, was right in front. And that's what I wanted them to do. I wanted to take charge of this trail. I want them to see if they can follow it and see if they can have that experience. And the lady that was so scared and felt so intimidated by everything was right in front. And she was at one stage looking around this thorn bush, and she could see the lions, but the others couldn't see it yet. And then she called them closer. She said, come on, come closer, come and see this. And her energy levels was up. She had a smile on her face, and she was actually guiding us to a wonderful experience of seeing those lions. And then slowly we pulled out and we went back. And I remember the Sunday morning when we left, she said that she did actually put down some of her fears in life in general. And she felt relieved, and she felt like a new person. How did it happen, all of this? How is this possible? It happened over a 3-day period, where through a process, she was facilitated to have the courage and demonstrate the courage to go forward and try something. And in a very subtle way, we exposed her to new things, and she did it. So she was no different from me as a child trying to change my life over many years into something better. All she did was to do it in a weekend. And I trust that exercise or that experience would have changed her life forever and made it better. I hope so. Because if most of your energy is drained through your fears, let's say 80%, then unfortunately what also goes with it is your ability to reflect, your ability to play with alternatives, your ability to come up with alternatives, your ability to become creative, innovative, your ability to try things, your ability to actually make a plan, put the plan together and execute that plan and achieve something and go places. All of that is out of the window. As a matter of fact, you will become so tired because of that, you won't be able to feed yourself in the extreme. That's what fear does to us. It kills us. And unfortunately, also true is that most of our fears is, the things we're afraid of in the future, the things still to come. And most people, maybe 98% of people, will allow the uncertainties of the future to take and steal all their energy so that they cannot move. They're tired. They end up in anxiety. They live their lives, anxiously and not being able to go anywhere or try anything or to become what is still possible. And that's the sad part of it. The good news is that most of what people are afraid of will never happen. Maybe only 2% of that, I don't know. But they don't know it. And living your life there then is not an option. It doesn't make any sense to stay there. You have to break out of that cycle. And the only way to break out of it is to have the courage to do something, to try something, and to play with it. and to take these small incremental steps going forward and get your levels of courage to get that up and become more positive and deal with the stressors and have a lot of positive self-talk, with positive affirmations, create a vision of something you still want to achieve, and then find those incremental steps of getting there, and just trust the process and just start doing things and see if you can get there. So a bit of a long story this, but I mean, you know as much as I do that there's so many other aspects all interlinked with this space of us being afraid, scared to do things, and therefore life and the opportunities of life will go past us. So what's one of the best things you can do? Well, smoke this in your pipe. What's one of the best things you can do in life going forward is to have the courage to do something, have the courage to do anything. It's better than doing nothing or not trying. One of the biggest lessons in my life. Can I then deploy beyond enemy lines? And can I be in control of my fears, and can I be calm when I'm there? Well, there's a few other imperatives that needs to be in place. I mean, you have to be good. You have to know what you're doing. But when all those other imperatives are in place, can I be there, calm, and not be that afraid of all the things that can potentially go wrong? Yes, you can be there. I did it. It was possible for me. And it's one learning experience of advancing over time. And ultimately, here's the most amazing thing of this conversation is you get closer to yourself. You become your true self. You start living your purpose in life. And you know, one of the critical things you had to do to have a more purposeful life was to demonstrate more courage. I mean, this is maybe the best thing you can do in life whilst you still have a chance. Well, smoke it. It's a good one.